Hi everyone, Dave here back with another video, and as you can tell, the move is in full swing. My manga is all gone, my little anime and whatever posters are all gone. Pretty bare room right now, and it's probably gonna be that way. Well, it's definitely gonna be that way for the next 2 weeks. For me, I don't know how many videos it's gonna wind up affecting, but it's not really a big deal. But when I get into the new place, maybe I'll do a video like turning my bedroom into my own weeb palace. You know, those videos do well in the algorithm, I think. So we'll see about that. But right now, we're going to be talking One Piece Gold. It was a movie released back in 2016, I believe. And my local theater had like a Fathom Events kind of special showing of it. And I went to see it, and I wanted to talk about it. So, review, I guess. I don't know why I'm confused at the concept of reviews, because I've done them before. But I took some notes, and let's talk about it. So, the movie opened with, well, it wasn't even the movie, but they played a feature for One Piece Red, which I thought was very interesting. It was a movie that I didn't even know was being made, but they sat down with the director of the movie. I forget his name. I apologize about that. But they had, an interview with him about, like, kind of what One Piece means to him, what the movie means, kind of a little bit of what it's about. And it looks pretty interesting. It's going to focus a lot on Shanks and Shanks' daughter, which Shanks is a big fan favorite character in One Piece. So I think that's very cool to kind of have a movie centered around him a little bit more. And, obviously, him having a daughter is very interesting. So it'll be kind of cool to see where that goes and how that turns out. So I just wanted to open with that and the fact that One Piece Red kind of looks like it's going to be pretty good. Um, so as for gold, though, as for One Piece Gold, one thing I noticed initially was the animation kind of a little choppy, and a lot of the body proportions on characters really look weird. I understand that's kind of the art style, and I feel like One Piece has kind of always had, a little issue with that. Kind of weird not weird, but like elongated bodies and stuff like that. But I don't know why it just stuck out to me in this film a little more than it normally does. I know that the way that anime usually draws its women is very hourglass shaped, but like Nami, you could like fit like I don't know, a Pringles can around her. Like it's not a big deal. I'm not sitting here acting like it's the end of the world. Um, but like it just made for kind of odd looking characters. Not that it's bad. Like I'm not sitting here trying to say that how Nami looks is bad or that she needs to be drawn this way versus the other way. But I'm just saying, like, as like a viewer perspective, like viewing it not just with Nami but with other characters, like just like there's this fight scene in the beginning, and this kind of feeds into my first kind of issue I had, and the issue with the animation is there's this fight scene in the beginning which is very good, and I have some good things I need to say about it, but there was a lot going on where I don't know if it was where I was sitting in the theater or just it being on a giant screen in general made it so hard to follow. I was like, wait, what's going on? And there's this guy with this super long sword, and it's like, what is happening right now? Like it felt like super weird and difficult to try to keep up with what was going on. Um, so again, I don't know if that was just me or if that had to do with the animation, but it was something that didn't really pose a huge problem as the film went on, but like at the beginning, it kind of took my eyes a little bit to adjust. And that was something that I thought was kind of interesting because I've never had that problem with watching One Piece before. It just, for some reason, this movie, I don't know if its art style was a little different, the animation was a little different, but something about it just kind of felt weird to watch, at least in that first, fight in the first few scenes. Um, but aside from the fight being a little too chaotic and hard to follow, it was a good opening fight, and it had a good intro to the characters. So not only did every character get a little kind of Borderlands esque title card with their name and like their bounty at the bottom, But the fight gave everyone an opportunity to shine and kind of show what their powers are and show kind of what they're about, like combat wise. Um, and I thought that was good because a lot of times in film, a lot of films, anime films aren't necessarily canon, but you kind of need to know a lot about the characters and a lot about what's going on to get the full effect and to like fully understand the world and everything about it. Um, but and luckily I'm somebody who's watched a fair amount of One Piece, so I understood what was happening. But I haven't watched One Piece in probably a few years, so it was definitely a nice refresher. To be like, okay, that's Frankie, that's Brooke, that's whoever, and and this is their powers, and this is kind of how they fight, and this is their personality and whatever. So it was very nice, and even for new fans who may not know and may see One Piece and be like, oh, let's go check out an anime film, because that's I guess nowadays it's not really the case, but that's how I got into anime when I was a kid, because I didn't have access to streaming services or anything like that. So I would just see a random anime film just on the shelf at Walmart or whatever, and I'd pick it up without knowing anything about the actual property, but just that it's anime and I like the look of that. So to have that kind of little intro sequence where they're kind of introducing everybody, showing what they're about, I think is really cool, and it kind of helps people like myself who haven't really consumed much One Piece in the past year or two, kind of get reacclimated with the characters, but also new people to get introduced to this film. Um, I may be reading a little too much into that, but I found it to be pretty cool. A pretty cool way to start the movie. Um, Another plus I had is there's going to be some spoilers throughout this review. If you guys haven't seen One Piece Gold, um, I'm sorry. I mean, this review is going to be a little spoiler heavy. I try my best to not put spoilers in there, but some of the points I have kind of relate to spoilers. So this one isn't really a spoiler, but I just figured I'd mention that now. I put the plus for the turtle car. That's awesome. Turtle powered car. That's so cool and unique, and I wish that they would use that more often. If they haven't already, they need to use the turtle car more. That's just such a fun idea. The movie had a great aesthetic. Everything is gold. It's this giant. I guess I should explain a little bit about what's going on. So the Straw Hats wind up going to this giant ship, this giant like city country-sized ship. Like it's like 6 miles long, I think they said, and it's almost like a giant cruise ship mixed with like an aircraft carrier. Like it's got military stuff guarding it because it's its own governing body, but it also is this giant extravagant casino resort type city. Golf courses, obviously casinos, you know, every sort of event that you could think of, and it's all gold because it'd be weird if the movie was called Gold and everything was blue. But obviously, the guy running it, Grand Cesaro or Gil Cesaro, sorry, is like this big. He ate the gold fruit, the gold fruit, something like that, and he loves gold, he loves money, and he loves having it all. And we find out later in the film that he sprinkles everybody with gold dust so that he can control them, because he can control anything that's gold. So he kind of, gets people into this false sense of security of like, oh, this is this fun, cool, chill place where we just come and we waste all of our money and, gamble away my kid's college fund. Thanks, Dad, by the way. But then, when you try to leave or try to speak out, he's like, hey, dude, I try to snap, and then there we go. Snap my fingers. You're gold. You're a gold statue now. And he kind of tricks the Straw Hats, which I thought was kind of weird. I thought their motivations were kind of odd because they give them a bunch of money, the Straw Hats, and then the Straw Hats win a bunch of money, and then they gamble and they kind of trick them into losing that money, which at first I thought was odd because it's like, wait a minute, it was all house money. The Straw Hats aren't really losing anything, but you just kind of did that for fun. Like, I don't know, but it's very quickly revealed that not only was the amount they lost way more than what they gave them, but they kind of lured them in because of that whole gold thing, and they try to run up their debt so that they can make money from the Straw Hats, and also they wind up capturing Zorro with the whole gold power and everything, and then it quickly turns into a heist movie, which I thought was very interesting, and not something I expected from One Piece. It pretty much becomes a heist movie, at least for a little while, where they can't really combat Tesoro. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm bad with anime names. I apologize for that. But they can't really fight this guy because they're all covered with these gold specks. And he'll just turn them into gold, and that's that. And also, if they try to do anything, he might kill Zoro or hurt him or whatever. So they hatched this elaborate plan with this new character, Karina, who Nami and her have a history with, and I'll touch on that in a second. But the heist kind of goes awry, as all heist movies do, as all heist things tend to go. It would be kind of boring if it was just like, hey, everything went according to plan. Okay, let's leave, I guess. So, but they try to steal money so that they can pay for Zorro from the vault, whatever. It's this whole thing. And I thought that was kind of cool. And another positive I put down is because this setting is so interesting and different, and because they have so many set pieces crammed into this ship, this giant airship thing. Well, not an airship, I'm sorry, like an aircraft carrier type thing. There's one scene where they do this race, and Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp are racing against these other guys just to win some money. It's this not really important to the story at all, but it's just kind of interesting how you've got some action, you've got a little racing in there, you've got a heist movie, and this movie's a little long too. It proved to be even longer because of some technical difficulties that happened at the theater, but the movie itself is 2 hours, which I feel like is kind of long for an anime movie. So they definitely added in a lot of set pieces and a lot of characters even. But let me, before I get into that, let me back up to Karina, because I wanted to talk about her. Why do they gloss over how terrible of a person she is? They, she and Nami have a history because they stole from this group of pirates when they were kids, and then Karina said, "Hey, you can have my treasure. Don't kill us. I'm gonna go run off and get it, and I'll come back and give it to you." And then she leaves, never comes back, and then Nami says, "Hey, you can have my treasure, please let me go." Then they go and find Nami's treasure, but Karina had also taken her treasure. And yeah, they kind of reveal later that Karina came back and she was she did that to distract them or whatever. But your friend still could have easily died, right? And they kind of brush it off, especially before they mention anything about it. We're just supposed to be okay with that, and they do a little fist bump, her and Nami, and Nami's like, "Hey, if you double cross me again, don't do that," or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what was said. But it's wait, we're just going to skip over the fact that she almost got you murdered, and we're just being, oh, you, we have our little history. You almost got me murdered. But, shucks, I can't stay mad at you. I don't know. It just seemed kind of like a weird plot point to gloss over. I thought that was odd. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, they go to rob the casino, and they dress up in costumes, which I thought was weird. This is a very niche nitpick, but I don't know if they just wanted to create new outfits for some reason. But the whole thing about them breaking into the casino is them trying not to get spotted. So why does it matter if they're wearing something different? Because if they get spotted, the jig is up anyway. And then also later in the movie, they disguise themselves as somebody else. So they get costumes to then dress up as somebody else anyway, which I thought was kind of pointless. I don't know. Maybe it's not really a big deal. It doesn't affect the story at all. But I thought that was kind of silly. I thought it was kind of weird. Why'd you waste time on doing this whole little, I guess for just the comedic effect, which I will say this movie is really funny. There were a lot of really funny points in it, and it kind of reminded me just how funny One Piece is. And sometimes writing doesn't always transfer from the show to a movie. It's not always as strong, but it was nice to see that the humor held up in this movie just as well as it does in the actual show. Um, but anyway, I guess yeah, maybe adding in a little montage, like a little like getting ready, like dressing up montage. It's funny. It was definitely funny, and it was definitely um, enjoyable. But it just kind of seemed pointless at the end of the day. But I don't know. That might just be me. Um, I did mention the characters that they add in. They have a lot of characters. They add in the Navy. There's a little cameo from Sabo. Um, excuse me. Of course, they have all the Straw Hats and some new characters that are like serve as the villains, which I thought were pretty good. Um, I will say though, I don't care how many times you show me a sad flashback for the villain. I'm never gonna feel bad for them, so don't even bother. Like I don't care if Tesoro was in love with this girl, but she was bought by somebody else, and he couldn't buy her because he didn't have enough money to save her or whatever to get her out of the situation she was in. But now, since he lost her, now he goes after all the money, so he'll never have to deal with it. I don't care. I don't care about the trauma. Like, just because you have trauma doesn't give you the right to enslave an entire city, country full of people. It just doesn't. Like, in showing me that, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh man, he kind of had a point, kind of feel bad for him. No, I'm not going to feel bad for you. Like, it sucks to suck, man. Uh, but anyway, there is kind of a little subplot with the Navy, which kind of gets overlooked. Like, there's a scene where they like want to summon a bunch of warships to go after Tesoro. Um, and then it's like, oh man, it's really heating up. It's about to get crazy. And then they just don't show up until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. And then they just kind of fire some cannons. Um, and then that's it. Like, and then at the end, of course, they have to go after the Straw Hats again because it's like, oh, we gotta go after them. My throat's getting a little sore. Sorry about that. Um, but the final fight is very entertaining. It was honestly probably one of the stronger final fights I've seen in a minute. At the very least, in an anime movie, I thought it was wrapped up nicely. There were some kind of things like Karina double crossed them, but then she didn't. But then she did, and it's like, and it's that typical shit in like spy or heist movies that honestly just is a trope that I kind of get annoyed with the whole double cross. Like it's just kind of lame. Um, but like the actual combat and the actual action, I think wrapped up very nicely. Um, with all of the characters and all the villains, it being related to casinos and gold and money, having powers that kind of reminisce that, like, um, I forget her name, uh, started with a B, but her character's, or sorry, her power's luck. So, she's like, oh, I have so much luck, I can beat you guys with a single coin, and she throws a coin on the battlefield, and it causes this whole like Rube Goldberg effect um, of like stuff going wrong, and then it doing trouble and damage to Chopper and Usopp and Brooke who are fighting with her. I thought the way that ended was a little odd because like she's like hitting him with this coin, and then Usopp like traps it in this jackpot machine, which it like spills out a bunch of coins. So like her luck was still very much prevalent. I don't really understand how that canceled out the luck. Um, and then of course he hits her with one shot and she's done, which is another trope in anime that I find very interesting. And it's like these characters could easily beat the people you have them up against, but you just have them lose for the sake of plot. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a little odd to me how, like, okay, yeah, they got rid of her luck, but she still shouldn't be able to be defeated in one shot. Like, otherwise, there really weren't a whole lot of stakes at play. Um, in this fight. I don't really know if I'm making much sense here, but like for example, Zoro fights this guy named Dice, and even though Dice has this armor and Zoro's having some trouble with him, they're still trading blows with one another. It's not like a one and done scenario. Um, but I guess there were like four different or five, I think, different fights going on. So it was kind of, not every fight is going to be amazing compared to the other ones, but it's not really that big of a deal. But I thought it wrapped up nicely. I thought it was a fun final confrontation that kind of had me literally at the edge of my seat, like, being like, oh man, that's cool. Oh man, that's cool. Like, what's going to happen now? And um, Luffy fighting Tesoro, who at this point created like this giant gold like Titan looking thing, or a mech of some kind. Basically going into his gear mode. I forget like what fourth or third gear, but it was like the gear thing where his arms get all like big and round and stuff, and doing combat there I thought was very fun, and definitely a good visual spectacle, excuse me. And by this point, my eyes had adjusted to all the crazy stuff going on. So but it did feel different. Like I don't know if that first scene was animated by a different company, or if that was animated last or animated first, like to where they didn't figure out how they wanted to take the movie yet. But my eyes did adjust throughout the movie, and this very much could just be me, but for some reason that first combat scene felt really different than every other scene in the movie. I don't know why, but that's just something I wanted to touch on again, I guess. Um, but yeah, so I kind of think I touched on everything. Overall, really good movie. One of the stronger anime movies I've seen. Um, yeah, I mean, One Piece is always a strong and safe property to go with, because there's a lot you can do with pirates and their exploring. Um, because there's a lot of places you can take them. You can really take them anywhere you want them to, because that's the name of the game. That's the nature of of One Piece, is the exploration and the adventure. So you could take them to anywhere you want, and it'll make sense, because it's like, oh yeah, they're exploring, they're looking for treasure. Um, and I thought the idea of it being this giant casino ship, this whole self-governing body, is a cool concept. The characters that they introduced, some of them were weak, some of them were pretty okay. But of course, at the end of the day, it's more opportunity to see Luffy and Zoro and Nami and Sanji and all the characters that we know and love. I thought the kind of cameos that they put in from other known One Piece characters were really interesting, and fun to see. It was fun to see like when Sabo popped up. I was like, oh man, that's Sabo. That's cool. So that was really cool. And yeah, I mean overall, really strong film. That final fight, honestly, was really good. Like I don't know, just something about it, like really really capped everything off nicely. I thought it was cool. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. This was my little review of One Piece Gold. Thank you guys so much for the support. We're almost at 100 subscribers, which is pretty nuts. I was going to do a video for 90 subscribers, but I may wait and do a special video for 100, because one, that makes more sense, and two, we're slowly but steadily approaching 100. So I want to thank you guys for the support on that. And when I move into my new place, my new room, I'm gonna situate it, and kind of, because when I moved in here, I kind of was going through a lot of changes in my life, and I kind of built everything one at a time. But now I kind of have more of a focus on my personal life, my comedy, and then also YouTube. So I want to really kind of hit the ground running with some more stuff. So when I get in there, um, I'm going to make a bigger effort on situating my room and my space, so I can be a lot more free and a lot more creative. So hopefully I will start to get videos out on a more regular basis, and also just better quality videos for you guys, because I appreciate the support a lot, and it really means a lot to me. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to say a little thank you at the end. I feel like I thank you guys in almost every video, but I mean it, and you guys deserve the thanks. So, yeah, again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.